Hey, good people, how you doing? Welcome to episode 54 of 254 Rugby. My name is Michael Kwambo, and we dive into what happened in the Kenyan rugby scene this past weekend. We are looking at action from the Kenya Cup and the KRU Championship. Let's start with the Kenya Cup, where the usual suspects, Kabras Sugar, Menengai Oilers, and KCB, are now the only unbeaten teams after 3 rounds of action. And look, these 3 teams will be fighting for the top 3 positions, and let's just say this, they are all qualified for the Kenya Cup semis with how many matches to go? With 8 matches of the regular season still to play. That's a lot because the Kenyan regular season features 11 games and we are quarter way through. Obviously the leagues take a break for the festive season before returning on the 10th of January and continuing all the way until I think it's April or May, but that is details that will be dealt with later. So like we were saying, the top 3 teams already have it, and I think the onus is on the Kenya Rugby Union and the rugby stakeholders to see how they can make the Kenya Cup more competitive, because I think this is the 4th season or the 5th season since the return of rugby action after COVID-19, and it is these 3 teams plus the one gate crasher to the party who have been consistent in playing in the Kenya Cup Final 4, and it's an issue of resources, it's an issue of so many things, but let's talk about the results first, and we could get into that diatribe later. On match day 3 this past weekend, this was the weekend of 6th December, Kabras Sugar racking up the highest score of the season, and I believe one of their highest ever scores in the Kenya Cup, and it came against the fallen giants Impala RFC, winners of the Kenya Cup I believe on 10 occasions, but now struggling for form, for direction, and for survival. That game ending 123-0 to Kabras Sugar in Kakamega. I believe this is Impala's heaviest ever Kenya Cup defeat. Yes, they have received some crazy scores in recent days. They lost 87-5 to KCB in their Kenya Cup opener, and then they lost 97-6 to the Menengai Oilers on match day 2, and then now this score is like they've just bettered their heaviest defeat, because prior to that they had been defeated 96-0 by Kenya Harlequin, but that was way back in 1996. The side obviously grew to become competitive and won a number of Kenya Cup titles. But yeah, that was a score. What was the score? Yeah, 123-0 to Kabras Sugar. And then Menengai Oilers, second placed on the log after 3 matches. They achieved this with a 69-3 victory over Kisumu RFC. Obviously, Kisumu was never going to threaten the Oilers, and the Oilers running riot in that, too slick for the Bravehearts. Now, the third game, interesting, because Strathmore Leos came into this fixture as one of the unbeaten sides. And what happened to them? They played KCB in Ruaraka. This game ended 72 points to 14 to KCB, just showing you the gulf in class between these top 3 and the rest of the league. So that's how it was. Elsewhere, Nakuru registered their first win of the season, and how did they register it? They defeated Nondi's 32 points to 30. That's an interesting scoreline, because the Strathmore Leos, in winning their opening 2 games, registered a similar score against Kenyatta University Black Blood and against Nondi's. Nondi's for the second weekend in a row losing by 32 points to 30. Quite interesting there. Then there was the clash between Kenyatta University Black Blood and Kenya Harlequin FC. Kenya Harlequin, like we said, they also had a good start to the season, but it had been a bit challenging for them because there was a player exodus that saw them lose quite a number of experienced players, and they did well in their opening 2 games, actually winning back-to-back games, which I believe is going to help them going forward when it comes to, first of all, staying clear of the relegation zone, but secondly, competing for a place in the playoffs. Well, They led 26-14 against Kenyatta University Blackblood at halftime at the RFUA ground, but fell to a 40-26 defeat. Their first defeat of the season. There'll be more defeats, but that's what happened in the Kenya Cup. Now, going to the KRU Championship, but before we go into the KRU Championship, there was a clash between Masinde Muliro and Daystar University. This clash was postponed as Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology were hosting their annual graduation ceremony on the 5th of December, and obviously a number of players involved in the ceremony, but secondly, the grounds that they play on being used for graduation, and that's why that fixture didn't take place. So that's what happened in the KRU Kenya Cup. And as we mentioned, the leaders are Kabras Sugar. I mean, you put 123 points past an opponent, it takes you to the top with a massive points difference. Yes, they are tied with Menengai Oilers on KCB with perfect records. These three teams have all won their matches with bonus points. They're all on 15 points, and they're head and shoulders above the rest, and nobody is going to threaten them. Let's not kid ourselves. Well, you can see the rest of the table there. We're just going to pull it up on your screens shortly alongside the results from the Kenya Cup. Yeah, that was match day 3 in the Kenya Cup. Let's go to the KRU Championship, and that one is interesting. Obviously, the Catholic monks are, they're gaining ground on the rest of the pack. They continued their winning ways, defeating Mombasa by 35 points to 12. There's also victory for the South Coast Pirates, who are looking for a quick return back to the Kenya Cup. They defeated the visiting USIU Marshals by 37 points to 7. And then another match of significance, Mwamba bouncing back to winning ways. Obviously, we trolled them after their loss away to Kisii when they fell to a 22-19 loss against their hosts. They were playing against Western Bulls, who are also a former Kenya Cup side. Western Bulls financially strapped, but they made the trip to Nairobi. They were on the receiving end of a 41-5 defeat to Mwamba. A second successive loss for Western Bulls. Remember, they've already given away a walkover. So they're winless in 3 outings, and they need to start winning some games if they are to stay in the second tier of Kenyan rugby, because a defeat for them would just compound their survival chances as the season proceeds, and probably edge them closer towards relegation to the regional leagues, the KRU nationwide leagues, which are played across 5 regions in Western, Central Coast, Rift Valley, and Nairobi. But that's a story for another day. And then the battle of the 2 promoted sides. Kisii, winners of the KRU Nationwide League in 2025, playing against the NYS Spades in Ruaraka, and Kisii won that game. It was a tight and scrappy game. They won it by 6 points to 3. Yeah, and then Zetech Oaks were playing against Mean Machine. Mean Machine are 3-time winners of the Kenya Cup, but they have been languishing in the second tier for the past couple of years. But Mean Machine on this particular day were too strong for the Zetech Oaks, defeating them by 30 points to 12. And then we had the fixture between the JKUAT Cougars and Homeboys. Homeboys, winners of the Enterprise Cup in 2018, relegated from the Kenya Cup, did not make their way back, and in the second successive season, looking for promotion back to the top tier, running into some headwinds. The rhythm is not too smooth. The records are skipping. Remember, Homeboys initially associated with the DJing unit, Homeboys that later became Homeboys Entertainment, but those are side stories. JKUAT Cougars silencing the DJs from Homeboys by 20 points to 18. Yeah, so that's what happened in the KRU Championship, and we are going to pull up the results and bring you the standings on your screen in a second. Now, in other news, what happened? The Kenya Lionesses named their training squad for the HSB Sevens 2 2026 season. It is a squad of 26. It was named by interim head coach Simon Odongo. And there are a number of new faces in the squad, such as Charity Nila, who plays her rugby at the National Youth Service, Maureen Jebet from Mwamba, Angel Salamba from Kenya Harlequin, Anne Namunyak from Racket, Marvel Oswago from Rongo University, Nelly Chikombe from Impala. Those are the six, I'd like to say, new faces or new names. I believe also Yvette Okech is another new name. And we do have the experienced heads in the form of Janet Okello Shebesh. She's played her rugby in Japan. A veteran of the team. She's been with the squad since 2014. She will be here to offer experience in that squad. And then also we do have the likes of Grace Okulu, currently playing her rugby in France for Racing 92. They are part of the 26 player squad that was named by head coach Simon Odongo. And they will be looking obviously to not only shine in the Nairobi leg of the HSB Sevens too, but overall, remember last year under Dennis Mwanja, the Lionesses actually, asserted themselves only for the format of the World Rugby 7 series for both the men's and women's competitions to be changed. Now, let's cross the border, Kenya's western border, and go to Kampala, Uganda, where the Pirates, the Black Pirates, won the season-opening Uganda Cup with a 19-8 victory over their arch rivals, the Heathens. And, that sets the prelude for the Ugandan League season, which kicks off I think it kicks off in January, but we'll get a confirmation. So that's what happened in Uganda. Now, back to that conversation about Kenya Cup. I know, people are talking about the Kenya Cup not being competitive, not being marketable. And once again, we said, the ball falls squarely at the feet of the people at the Kenya Rugby Union and the stakeholders as well. What do you want to do with your rugby? What do you want to do with your competitions? Because, yes, it is in a format that has worked in the past, but you're obviously struggling to attract sponsorships. The gulf between teams is wide. I mean, if you look at it, we dare say that the Kenya Cup is a farmers' league at this point in time. There's only 3 competitive sides, and these are the moneyed sides. That is Kabras Sugar, Menengai Oilers, who are incidentally part of the same, they're owned by one company. And then we do have KCB, who are sponsored by KCB Bank. I mean, they have all the money and the resources. We do have the likes of Strathmore Leos knocking on the door occasionally, nondescripts as well, Kenya Harlequin, who have been competitive in recent years, and Kenyatta University Black Blood. But the gulf is wide between the two sides. And, it's a conversation that we'll continue to have. But, like we said, what can we say, too much to think about. I think for KRU, seriously, you need to ask yourselves every single day, is this what you really want from the product? Yes, the games are being played. I know Bora Rugby, but do you want Rugby Bora? Because one could dare say that the Kenya Cup is a competition that has 12 teams and is eventually won by Kabras. While it is good, to emphasize on Kabras's dominance, they've taken advantage of the situation. What is happening in terms of making the league competitive and making the teams competitive, the players competitive as well? Well, like we said, the onus is on KRU, club chairman, rugby stakeholders, Kazi Kweno. There is no Kenya Cup action. There is no KRU championship action. There is no league action until January. the leagues take a break. There still is rugby action this weekend in the form of the Enterprise Cup. There is a round of 16, and word on the street is that there will be so many walkovers given away. Just shows you the priorities as well. And it just goes back to what we were saying, like what is being done to package these products. I know there's a whole novel idea behind the Enterprise Cup, featuring teams from Uganda at the cross-country quarterfinal stage. How good is this? How viable is this? How sustainable is this going forward? Kazi kwenu wase wakiariu. Let me speak like that. But anyway, that's my rant, that's my review. Well, what can we say? I think 254 Rugby, should we really shoot another episode next week? I don't know. Maybe what we'll do, I think we will, just to summarize what the year was like. I think we'll do a season, not a season review, but the year in review. That should be episode 55. But for now, we are signing out, or I am signing out. My name is Michael Kwambo. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and tell a friend. And as I sign off, I just want to give a special mention to our sponsors, La Villa Fitness, for making this episode of 254 Rugby possible. So thank you for staying with me through my rant and rave. Catch you again next time. Peace.